Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August the 11th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, well, I'm here. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hopefully the day treated you well, treated you right, treated you nice. As for mine, it was a day. I would love to tell you it was a good day. And I think if I, break it all up, focus on the overall sum of its parts, we could say it's a good day. Maybe, who knows? A year from now, I'll look back on this Tuesday and maybe that day was better than I thought. Who knows? The view from the day just doesn't feel good, man. It's been rough. But I'll give you a breakdown. How did my day go? What did we do? Let's start from the top. Got up this morning, woke up, overall felt pretty good. Got myself together. We got to work. And as I came in, I noticed that they were swapping out the crusher. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. But I pop over to maintenance because I wanted to eat some yogurt real quick, just kind of a little snack. And, chop it up with them real quick. And they immediately let me know. They say, hey, Isaiah, just so you know, Rumpke came in, and as they were trying to swap out the crusher, the railings on the trash compactor broke. So they should be coming at some point today, later today, whatever, and, they'll be going to try to fix it. And I'm like, okay, damn, that kind of fucking sucks, but whatever, so show goes on. We'll see how today goes. And more or less, TDLR in that regard, I spent all day upstairs doing putbacks. I came down a couple of times just to kind of deworm my brain, de-stress a little bit, because I hate being upstairs, especially in busy moments of the day. Crazy people flying left and right trying to get their numbers and shit. Drama, all kinds of dumb bullshit, whatever. I just don't like being up there. It's like being in gym pop. So, I came down a couple times, to do trash for the other trash compactor. And that was more or less my work day. Now that alone wouldn't be that bad, right? It's like, hey, you've done that before, but there was a couple other things that made this a bit worse, or a bit heavier for me today, a bit different. One, mentally, I've been going through it. As y'all know, I've been vaguely talking about my medical stuff that's going on. I had mentioned previous episode, what was it, over the weekend or whatever, could it be cancer? Maybe. My doctor had said probably not, but there was something I don't know, just thinking about it too much. Something's in the air where I just I keep hearing stories of young people getting cancer. I just finished a book today, actually a little quick book review, Tokyo Noir, follow up to Tokyo Vice, which was a really good book. Overall, this book was really good in comparison to that, but it's not as heavy. It's not as intense. He goes on side quests. It almost feels like he's talking about other things, but it was overall good. And he stays on that track that Tokyo Vice kind of has, and it's following his life. Jake Edelstein, amazing, interesting guy. I'll say that much. Anyway, book's good. Read it. But a main thing that I didn't expect was that him getting cancer was just a big thing that he had to talk about in it, and then other issues and stuff that he goes through. I'm trying not to spoil or anything, but I was damn, it was making me think about my life a lot, and I think all of that kind of came to a head today. I was talking to a coworker, she's kind of my work mom, and she was telling me a situation about someone in her life that died of cancer who was young, around my age, and I broke the news to her that this might be a thing for me, and I'm worried about it. And I don't even have the money to pay for, scans and stuff. And she was like, Isaiah, just do what you can to find a way. Just do it. Just, make that happen. Cause you don't want, you got to fight for it. You got to, do your best you can, and da 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 da. And she was just trying to be really encouraging, and I was trying not to cry in front of her, which I was failing. So it was just a rough day in that regard. all that. So that's the number one thing. Try not to get too emotional here. Forgive me. The second thing was we had a really nasty bout of stormy weather. And it's been pretty, I don't know, weather-wise over the past like month or so, pretty rainy. Pretty, waterlogged, if you will. So that's definitely been an issue. I've covered a couple of moments or whatever in the Cincinnati area. But today it was giving, I don't know if there was any kind of tornado touchdowns or whatever, but they literally rang the horn in my warehouse for like the first time in 11 years. It wasn't a drill. They're like, hey, everybody go down to the first floor. I guess that's the most secure area, which feels very weird to be down in like the mega bay area of our warehouse and like, I guess hoping you're not going to die or something. And then like being in that situation and you realize like, okay, I don't think anything's necessarily happening to me, but then I'm thinking about my loved ones, friends, all that shit. I'm like, damn, like what if something's really crazy going on outside? So I was, naturally, worried about, I was worried about my beautiful, wonderful girlfriend, Zoe, also Newsy, shout out. But yeah, I was like, damn, hopefully she's okay. She said that she, literally was at the salon and had to go to the back, because they got a tornado warning or severe weather warning. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but needless to say, weather was bad. Things weren't looking good. But in a strange way, this is almost a silver lining, if you will, for me, because like I said, mentally, I was in the doldrums. I was in just a dark place. I'm over here crying in the aisles and shit. So like getting a 15-minute buffer or so, maybe even 20 minutes to just kind of collect myself. Even when I was worried about something else, just kind of, I want to say health, put that in quotations. But anyway, that was the work day. It was heavy. It was gross. Oh, and then also to put the cherry on top, the Rumpke guy who fucked up the railing for the trash compactor, I'm blaming this particular person. Maybe it was the person before them. I don't know or fucking care. They say, hey, I'll call this in. Rumpke should be here sometime today. I was kind of already thinking they weren't going to come here today because we had a severe weather warning anyway. But come to find out, they hadn't even called Rumpke to let them know they fucked up. So we're now, I don't even know if they're even going to get to us tomorrow at a reasonable time. So I could be going right back into the same suck that I left last, today. So that's fun. That's great. Love that for me. Love that for us. So, we bid the job adieu. Now I got to drop off my coworker and then head to the gym because me, I'm going to get my pump. In the best of times and the worst of times, I'm trying to catch a fucking pump. But we proceeded to hit a bit of traffic, which was annoying. Literally one of the stop signs at like a major, or traffic lights at a major intersection, was just converted more or less into an impromptu stop sign. Which low-key was kind of scary because I'm like, man, I'm not trying to get like fucking clipped by some fucking eager beaver trying to get home. Nor am I trying to do that to somebody else, you know what I mean? But that held us up a little bit. That was a bit annoying, but needless to say, was able to drop off the coworker. I was able to get to the gym. Noticed that there was power in the area. I'd even gotten like a text message alluding to that there was power in my area. So I was like, all right, should be good. Hopefully worst case, just no internet. We'll be all right. Get to the gym. Gym had power. Planet Fitness stays with it, I guess. So, got my ass in there. Did a little bit of working out, which was nice. I think it was good just to kind of get my brain off a little bit, off of like the issues that have been going on and all that. Had a pretty decent workout. Then I went to how do you say? You can call this. I can just use the store name, Lefties. I needed to pick up some incense and another item, and did that. Then I came home. And I don't know, I've just not been in the mood to stretch. I know, feel free to boo me in the comments. I know I need to do that. But I just haven't been in the mood. And I just had my snack and tried to get the episode together. And it's more or less where we're at. I feel like today's episode's a bit scrappy. Feels almost like more blog than news. But that being said, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. I will also say that given the stress of the day, should I be drinking? No. But do I have a bev? Yes. Did we preamp? A little bit. So, bear with me on the startup, okay? Uh, and once again, I want to add a little bit of a note. Hopefully we don't have cancer. I don't want to play this up or whatever. This is me in my head about a potential worry. But that being said, just with this medical drama that I've been having throughout the year, it almost just feels like that, So that's just kind of where my head's at. That's why I've been a bit in the weeds mentally, a bit. But yeah, I've noticed it. I feel like I've been a bit disconnected from a lot of people, a lot of things. I find myself getting distracted. Whether it's a pain related thing, whether it's an emotional, mental thing. Your boy's going through it. But hey, I'm here to see another day, God willing. Fuck yeah. Anyway, all right. And y'all know I appreciate any prayers, good vibes, whatever. Send them my way. I'll take them. Shit, in a capital society, even some dollar dues, fuck, everything helps. All right. This says good housekeeping, but we're gonna say it's a couple stories I found from Yahoo. Anyway, FDA announces recall of food sold at Target, Trader Joe's, Walmart, and more in 26 states. Here's a full list. Now, we're not going through all of the listicles of this. I'm more or less just going to get the story aspect. But this is a cyclospora update, if you will, in a way. Bit of worlds collide. All roads lead to fucking poopy ass Taylor Farms. The summer of 26 hasn't been great for produce fans. First, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, published a recall notice of iceberg lettuce in July from the company Taylor Farms due to a multi-state outbreak of GI illnesses linked to the parasite cyclospora. The FDA next reported that as of August 5th, 345 people across 27 states have been infected with Salmonella javanica, an outbreak linked to jalapeno poppers jalapeno peppers distributed by Coast Citrus distributors. Now, additional products containing jalapenos have been recalled, and you may have bought them at Hannaford, Kroger, Stop and Shop, Target, Trader Joe's, Walmart, or Whole Foods. I also want to add, this is unrelated, but Chipotle also had a recall of jalapenos recently. I think that might be related to Taylor Farms as well. Don't quote me. I'm not sourcing that, directly, but I'm pretty sure. Which would not be good. And also from what I've kind of gathered, that like Taylor Farms is kind of running more or less a monopoly on lettuce. Like one way or another, you're gonna have to go through them. And that kind of makes sense because if they have this kind of issue, then naturally they're just kind of spreading it all around. And it's kind of like, oh man, sorry about that. We'll be working right on it. But I mean, who knows? Because if they were working on it, I feel like we would have had better ways of tracing this shit back, actually having like, a better protocol, things like that. But we know this administration. We know how this shit kind of rocks. Anyway, let's keep it moving. What's more, on August 9th, the FDA published a new company recall announcement from Taylor Farms recalling its products that contain jalapenos. Taylor Farms began its recall because it sourced its jalapenos from Coast Citrus distributors, but has stopped doing so. Still, the salmonella risk remains. The FDA and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, are investigating a multi-state outbreak of salmonella linked to these jalapenos. Now, like I said, they go through a whole list of states, 26 of them things. Ohio, yes, we did get mentioned. That makes this a little bit of a local yoke. But let's see. All the affected products containing these jalapenos have best if used by date up to and including August 16th, 2026. Excuse me. Now they go through all kinds of these products that have the jalapenos in it that would potentially be affected. We're not going to go through that. By all means, go to Good Housekeeping. Do your due diligence. Look this shit up. If you bought something of the jalapeno variety lately, check that shit out. Be aware. Be prepared to maybe throw it away. Let's see. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Was there anything else I really wanted to add? They talk about what is salmonella. You know, you can do a quick Google search. You'll figure that out. It's not fun. But I wanted to move to the next recall thing. Let's see. This is from Delish. Nearly 30,000 pounds of beef recalled. Check your fridge and freezer. Thousands of pounds of raw beef have been recalled from stores because it never underwent import reinspection after arriving in the United States. Here's everything we know. Corte Argentino USA LLC is recalling 29,628 pounds of raw beef products that were imported to the United States from Argentina. I just made up a new place. Argentina. Without reinspection. The affected products were produced between May 15th, 2026 and May 20th, 2026 and contain a use or freeze by dates between September 15th, 2026 and September 20th, 2026. More details, yada, yada, yada about it. But the raw beef products were recalled because they entered the United States from Argentina without undergoing a process called import reinspection, which checks documentation, labeling, packaging, and the product's general condition, and in some cases, samples for contaminants. So we haven't heard of any situation of someone getting sick, dying, or anything like that. But naturally, you just want to be aware that's a thing that happened. If you check your labels and you say, oh, I got it, well, then, you know, it's a buyer beware situation. I don't know if you could potentially get a refund, but I feel like if you hit up your local grocer and you had your receipt, all your information, and you said, hey, I bought this thing and I noticed that this happened, I'm sure they would work with you. I would hope. If not, I don't know, put them on blast on TikTok or some fuck shit. I don't know. Do your thing. Become an influencer. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's get off recalls, though. I will say, kind of felt, obviously, it's not good when these things happen. It's definitely fucked, gross, no good. But, you know, I miss doing some recalls. It's, for better or worse, we found the time today. All right. Anyway, next story from The Guardian. Trump's Air Force One deception faces scrutiny over decoy passengers. All right. Democrats called on Tuesday for a congressional briefing over a stunning charade in which Donald Trump was secretly spirited to a different plane than the one the public and press believed he was traveling on. Critics now question why reporters and the public had been deliberately misled. When U.S. intelligence allegedly found a credible threat that Iran plotted to kill him last month, Trump left Air Force One in a catering truck, an episode first reported by the Washington Post and also by the New York Times. While the president was reportedly snuck out the side door of a plane, more than 100 aides, officials, and reporters were kept on board to fly towards Britain without being told there was a threat to their lives. It appears that the idea was we can reduce the danger to President Trump by offering up 100 people or so, offering up 100 or so people to be killed by the Iranians in his place, said Stephen Cash, executive director of Steady State and a former CIA intelligence officer and senior advisor to the Department of Homeland Security's intelligence branch. Let's see. Skimming ahead a bit, just more testimonials from, Democrats and whatnot saying like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up. It's like, yeah, dude, I agree. The White House had publicly said the president would fly to Britain aboard Air Force One, albeit an older version of the new Qatari gifted aircraft. Now, this is some shit we already know. I just kind of want to wind us back through that, but, we did cover this. It's timely old news. Trump boarded the presidential jet in full view of television cameras before being spirited away minutes later and transferred to an Air Force C-32A. I believe that's the vice president's plane. So yeah, it's a bit of a 3-card Monty situation. Just kind of Benny Hilling him around because we don't want to see him get hit with a missile, I guess. And the deception was sufficiently elaborate that journalists traveling with the president and some of the White House staff believe Trump remained on board Air Force One. Reporters were instructed to keep the shades over their windows closed during the flight. The C-32A carrying Trump flew to RAF Mendenhall in Britain, arriving at about 10:20 p.m. The older Air Force One and the traveling press pool arrived minutes later. Photographers subsequently captured Trump descending from the presidential aircraft, apparently after he had been secretly reunited with it. So yeah, I mean, they thought they pulled off the fucking perfect plan, but of course they fucking didn't. Dude, I also love that there is always a high level of leaks, no matter what Trump does. Like, he cannot take a fucking fart around Pete Hegseth without someone being like, yeah, he farted on fucking Pete's face. Like, the fucking Wall Street Journal is yapping about it, and Trump's like steaming. Oh man, hey, it's good. Everybody's got to get their fucking money, and this is Lord of the Flies, so it's not surprising. Let's see here. Is there really anything else I wanted to cover about this? Like, yes, this is interesting. Is it intriguing? Like, should we be in this situation? No. Like, at the end of the day, kind of as per when we initially talked about this, Trump shouldn't be flying around with his little gifted 747 or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, at the end of the day, he has an actual factual Air Force One. It might be old, but it's reliable. But he had to go gallivanting around and also conduct a fucking war. And it's like, oh, you're mad that now these things are kind of overlapping in a way that's kind of a negative? Like, well, too bad. Sorry. I guess you had to fucking do this. And like, is it fucked up that like he put people's lives on the line? Yeah, it's pretty shitty. But par the course for our shitty fucking president. So, my shoulders didn't really even move when I initially heard the news. What can I say? It is interesting to hear some of these details. It almost makes it kind of comical in a way, in a dystopian, shitty kind of way. But, it just is what it is. I really just don't have too much to add about it. And in some ways, this almost feels like a nothing burger. And maybe it is to some and a lot of people, but, and another day and then the Orange Empire. Anyway, is there anything else I really wanted to pull from here? Nah, I'm good. We have one more story that I wanted to cover. Speaking of war, speaking of conflict, multiple regions, let's go to the sea. Not just any sea, the Red Sea. We have one more story I wanted to close out with, related to the U.S.-Iran war. So yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out there. Oy. That would be so shitty. You're a fucking journalist and you go down in the fucking, one of the dupe Air Force Ones or whatever the fuck, and then you're like, man, he wasn't even on here. He wasn't even on the plane, dude. He was snarfing Big Macs on the fucking VP shit. That would kind of be a bit of an insult to injury. All right. Last story is from Reuters. Oh, actually, one more thing. Can't forget the best. All right. 4 crew, 2 rescuers killed in Red Sea attack. U.S. strikes ship in Gulf of Oman. 4 crew members were killed in an attack by Iran-backed Houthis on a cargo ship in Bab el-Mandeb Strait on Tuesday. Yemen's transport ministry said, while the U.S. military said it struck a container ship attempting to sail toward an Iranian port. 2 Yemeni rescuers from an anti-Houthi military group were also killed in the Bab el-Mandeb attack, Yemen's Coast Guard said. The fatalities aboard the Egyptian-owned Tiama, if confirmed, would mark the first deaths in a Houthi strike on shipping since the Iran war began on February 28th. Later in the day, the Houthis said they attacked a ship carrying Saudi military equipment in the Bab el-Mandeb, but did not name the ship. The Saudi Center for International Communication did not respond immediately to a request for comment. Let's see. The British Navy affiliated agency UK Maritime Trade Operations reported one incident in the Strait on Tuesday, saying a ship was hit by an unknown projectile. So I guess that's kind of connecting the dots there. Let's see here. Skipping ahead a bit. 3 Pakistanis and 1 Indonesian was killed, the Yemeni ministry said, adding the crew lost control of the vessel after being attacked. 2 rescuers from the National Resistance Forces, or the NRF, and anti-Houthi force were also killed when the Houthis struck again after rescue crews arrived, the Yemeni Coast Guard said, which is fucked up because at the end of the day, I know I've talked about, the idea of double tapping. Like, that is something that military wise you see on all sides in combat. And, make no mistake, that is more or less what is being conducted here, which is, something I have to say is, damn, what the fuck? That's evil. Anyway, 10 people were injured, including 7 crew members, 2 Coast Guard personnel, and 1 NRF member, according to the Coast Guard. The Houthis declared a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea on July 20th in response to what they described as a Saudi siege. Riyadh denies that Yemen is under siege. Because that would be bad for their dollar count. It really, Saudi Arabia is definitely taking a hit. I mean, all over the Gulf, everyone's kind of scrambling, but I feel like, the mood in Dubai is kind of down. Being at war will do that. But, once again, let them tell us, like, that's not really what's happening here. That's between Iran and the US, But at the end of the day, they also know that it's like, no, when the shit hits the fan, the shit's aimed at them. They are definitely one of the people in the fucking crossfire here. Let's see. Separately, U.S. Central Command said it had fired 2 Hellfire missiles, disabling the steering gear of a Panama flag container ship, Villanova, while it was sailing in the Gulf of Oman toward an Iranian port. The vessel ignored repeated warnings to stop violating a naval blockade on Iranian ports, Central Command added. Now, I don't know. I feel like all of these things almost always, not necessarily 1-to-1, but you'll just notice that, like, if things are bad, in this conflict, you will see it at the pump. Like, I've definitely seen more places either inch very close to $4, over $4. I'm very lucky that where I'm at, gas is around $3.50. But it is going to show that it's like, yeah, man, it just doesn't feel like this verbal jujitsu shit is going to work for forever. Trump comes out and it says, hey, we're working on a deal. And then Iran goes, no, we're fucking not. Or at some point we all realize, no, the fuck we're not. Then it's like, okay, we're actually back at it. We're blowing them up. We're blowing them to smithereens. We're sending them to God. And then, shit racks up. And it's like, we actually came to a deal. We're actually coming to a deal. We're working things out. And it's like, dude, it just doesn't feel like anything is getting worked out. Kind of talking about the leaks and shit. It's kind of been speculated that essentially we are running out of our like offensive missiles in this whole conflict. We're running low on our stockpile, so to speak. And it's not like you can snap your fingers and make that shit happen. The turnaround for these things, I think, is like 2 years for like a Patriot missile or whatever. Needless to say, Pete's like, nah, we're fine, Daddy Trump, we're good. But these leaks are saying otherwise. And then there's more leaks or whatever saying that, oh, actually, Trump is now hearing about this shit and he's yelling at you. He's not happy. So needless to say, this shit is not going well. But Trump can come out and say whatever the fuck he wants. The market will kind of listen, and then maybe things kind of fizzle and stay low-ish. But all slowly but surely, steadily, whatever, we wind up having to pay more is really what I'm trying to get here. What I'm trying to get down to. And I can't afford that. Because like I said, I can barely afford medical bills. Okay? So I really would love for this administration, for our wonderful, lovely president to, like, I don't know, maybe find some common sense and try to wrap this shit up. But I know that is magical thinking at this point. But hey, a boy can dream. that's it. That's all I have. That's all I have for this episode for today. Sorry for getting a little emotional, getting a little weird. It's been a dreary day, but hopefully we have tomorrow. Anyway, if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsy today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is always caring. All the stars are appreciated. All the high reviews on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever they let you do that sort of thing, it is wildly appreciated. You know, it's free, it's easy, and you just clickety clackety clack, and that's great. It's good for my algo. It's good for, all that shit. And, be nice. Anyway, but if you don't, that's okay. Because fuck the algo, fuck the great AI in the sky that, maybe led you to me, me to you. I'm just happy that you listened. Hopefully you didn't hate it. Hopefully you want to come back again for another episode, when I whip one up. But yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.